Hello and welcome to my little bookish corner of the internet. My name's Harriet. Yes, the fringe is back. It has made a reappearance. I do this every summer when it's hot and I don't know why, because my forehead gets really sweaty and gross, but it's back. I am really glad to have it back. I missed it for a little while. I actually was going to get it done when I got my hair cut off short, but now it's kind of grown out to a long bob and I got my fringe back. So yeah, anyway, today I want to talk through my thoughts and my review for The Terror by Dan Simmons. Now, I wanted to read this book for a really long time. I actually ended up watching the TV show, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in this as well. I'm going to try and keep it as spoiler-free as I can. I'm going to be discussing the plot a little bit, so just bear that in mind. So yeah, anyway, I watched the TV show and then realised that it was based off of a book, which is also based off of real events. So I was super interested to read it and I purchased it on the Kindle without realising that it is over 900 pages long, which I try really hard not to read books that are that long because I know that usually they feel that long and they seem to take me forever to read, but I figured I would give this a go. Again, I was really interested in the premise and everything. If you didn't know the plot of this, we are following the based on true story expedition to the Northwest Passage, and it was the Sir John Franklin expedition. I'm being very careful here because I keep saying exhibition, which is a completely different thing. But yeah, it was a journey to the Northwest Passage, which had never really been explored before, obviously based in the Arctic, and following these sailors and what happens to their ship, because as far as I know, the true story behind this is that these ships were actually lost. And I'm not certain, I don't think that any of the sailors actually came back home, but I'm not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that. This is actually something that I really want to research now that I have read The Terror and seen the TV show. I do want to look into the true story of the two ships that were involved in this expedition, which were Erebus and Terror. But yeah, we're following all of the sailors, the captains, the people that are living and working on these ships as they're going on this expedition. So we've got that kind of true story side of things, and then we do have a supernatural element coming in as well, which comes from this thing that the sailors are actually calling the Terror, named after the ship, which does infuriate Captain a little bit. Yes, this supernatural beast that is stalking them on the ice, because these ships have been stuck in the ice for 2 years and it's something that has just kind of started happening. So yeah, a bit of a crazy premise, to be perfectly honest with you. There is a lot going on. You've got the true story side of things and then you've got the supernatural element, but I think that it was woven in very cleverly and done very well. Although to be perfectly honest, it probably didn't need the supernatural element in there. You could have just had the true story and that would have been interesting enough. So again, this is something that I do want to look into after having read this book, the true story of the two ships that disappeared. Now this book deals with some really intense and heavy topics. All of these sailors have been stuck in freezing cold conditions for many years. There's a lot of kind of craziness going on. There's things like scurvy, there's things like frostbite, there's obviously gory elements that are coming in from the attacks that are coming from this beast on the ice. So it's definitely very hard-hitting. It does also deal with things like suicide, so do keep that in mind. It's not an easy book to read by any means, but my goodness, did I enjoy it. It was such a journey. It definitely was a very long book. There's no denying that it felt like over 900 pages long, but I did have a wonderful time for the most part. Some sections I do think could have maybe been refined a little bit, but thinking back on my time with the book, there wasn't really anything that I could take out that didn't add to the story, didn't add to the character development, didn't add to that horrible feeling of being so freezing cold for such a long time. The author did such a good job of putting you in the shoes of all of these different people, because it does follow various perspectives throughout the book, so you can see different people on this ship, whether they are higher up officers or if they are just kind of the lowest rank on the ship. You do get to see it from various perspectives, which I do think is a really good way of writing, especially this particular subject matter, because people will experience completely different things depending where they are on the ship. So yeah, definitely a very kind of character-driven story, as well as those horror elements and the freezing cold conditions that get described to you quite regularly. It's not a book to read if you are faint of heart. It's not something that I think that you should pick up if you're not interested in the history of the ships, or if reading about freezing cold conditions for 900 pages is something that you're not interested in. Please do not pick this up. But it does also deal with things like understanding different people, different races, because there are people that are native to the Arctic who are living there and who are seeing all of these men that have come here and disrupting their day-to-day life, and their experiences with the Terror as well, which when I say the Terror, I do mean the beast that is on the ice. So their experience with it, and it was just thrilling to read. It was such a gripping story. There's so much going on. There was no point where I felt bored or I felt like there was nothing happening. There's always stuff going on in the background. I think every chapter had a piece of action in it. I will also say that I do not read thrillers. I don't read horror. I don't read gore, anything like that. and I really enjoyed this. I don't know what it was about it. I think it was because it was mixed in with that factual element and things to do with the natural landscape and things that are happening around the people that are on these ships that isn't just supernatural. I just think it was a really good blend and that it would suit many different readers. So that's one thing I really did appreciate, because I was kind of nervous going in that it was going to be too gory for me, because I just don't read horror. I haven't read anything horror-esque for many years. I think the last time I did probably would have been Tender as the Flesh, which is not really a scary horror, it's just a bit gross. In terms of scariness, probably The Shining by Stephen King, which I read when I was like 13 years old, so it's been a little while. But yeah, super grateful that there was that nice blend of facts in there as well. So overall, I literally can't fault it, and it actually ended up being one of the best books that I have read this year, possibly ever. I haven't got like a top 10 list or anything, but maybe this would be on the top 10 or top 20. It's definitely very good, and I would eventually like to own it in paperback if I could find a really nice edition that I like. Now, in terms of the show, I would say that you can watch the show, get an idea of what is going on, and then read the book, and you're not going to feel like it's pointless you reading it. They are separate things. So they have kind of swapped a couple of people around, they've swapped a couple of events, they've added things in, they've taken things out. So it is well worth, if you are interested in watching the TV show, please do watch it. It's directed by Ridley Scott, I believe, so you know it is done very well. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would actually like to rewatch that one day as well. But yeah, overall, just a fantastic experience. I will say I'm glad that I read this when the weather is a little bit warmer, because I feel like I would have felt extra cold had I read it in the winter. But I'm super glad that I really stuck with it and got through to the end, because it ended up being a 5-star read for me. Please do let me know if you read this book. Also, let me know if you know much about the story of the Sir John Franklin expedition. If you've read any books about that, any non-fiction novels, please let me know if there are any that you would recommend. But yeah, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!